As the virus spread last month, the pace of job growth likely slowed. Economists are looking for a gain of 50,000 jobs and an unemployment rate of 6.8%, according to Dow Jones. That report is due out in just over 2 hours. Michelle Girard is NatWest's Markets co-head of global economics. And Michelle, in terms of what we should look for and how we should put that in context with the rising market prices we've seen this week.
Well, there's a couple of things. I mean, obviously, the labor market is suffering as a result of the resurgence in the virus and renewed restrictions, which has really put a pause on the pace of hiring. We actually think we could see a decline in employment for the first time since April, and even at least a stall in the decline in the unemployment rate. I think, though, that it is important to draw a distinction between what's happening now versus, say, what happened last March and April, in the sense that while the labor market has certainly suffered as a result of the renewed spike in the virus, we are not seeing the broad-based shutdowns in activity that we had seen. And in fact, we had data this week from the ISM that both manufacturing and service activity improved in the month. So I don't think, the point is that while these numbers this morning I think will be disappointing, the vaccine is a game changer. And I think you see companies and even consumers remaining optimistic about, where we'll be in several months.
Where do you think we'll be in several months? I mean, if we can get the pace of vaccinations up, I guess that changes the game pretty significantly.
It does. And it really is dependent on how quickly we can get the vaccine distributed and how quickly, therefore, consumers feel comfortable to re-engage. The good news is that we've seen a lot of activity in terms of spending on goods. It's recovered. It's back to levels in many cases that you had seen prior to the virus. It's spending at restaurants and in the retail sector that has lagged, spending on services where there's an awful lot of room for a strong continued recovery. And when that happens is highly dependent on the vaccine. But consumers are sitting on a lot of cash. The stimulus checks, even in the wake of a weak labor market, the savings rate is extremely elevated, double digits, and there's a lot of spending power that can be deployed. The question is just how quickly can we get consumers to feel comfortable enough to get out there and put that money to work.
Michelle, how much of the gains that we've seen in the market, and I know that you're an economist, but you also watch the markets pretty closely, and how much of the gains that we've seen, the optimism we've seen this week, do you think is coming because people are anticipating much more stimulus because of the Democrats taking the Senate? How does that work into where you look at things from an economic perspective?
It does, and I do think that there is optimism that with what is seen as, the blue sweep, that we will see more stimulus. Now, I hate to to dampen some of that optimism. I do think that this is a very different situation than what we had talked about in November when we talked about a blue sweep. When we talked about a blue sweep in November, that was based on some assumptions that perhaps the Democrats would have a larger majority in the Senate, which would really give them the ability to pass a lot more stimulus through. A 50-50 balance with the vice president breaking the tie is going to make it still, I think, challenging to have massive stimulus. There will, I think there's more hope that we will find agreement in some areas, but I guess we're not quite as optimistic as the market seems to be that the election results here in January in Georgia are as much of a game changer. But I do think that that's what you see it not only in the equity market, but you see it, of course, in bond yields that are rising. I think in anticipation that we will see more debt, being issued to fund, a significant amount more of stimulus. And I just think that maybe some of those expectations are out of sync with the real reality of what just a kind of a 50-50 split in the Senate will actually mean.
Shepard Smith here. Thanks for watching CNBC on YouTube.